What if I told you there are islands on Earth that are so dangerous they have driven off any attempt at settlement? Islands where the conditions are so extreme, the land itself is uninhabitable. From toxic environments to deadly wildlife, these places are almost impossible to live on. And yet, they remain shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Welcome to the world's most uninhabitable islands. In today's documentary, we will uncover the 15 most uninhabitable islands on Earth, places where the very land and environment seem to reject human life. These islands have become a testament to nature's power. Whether it's volcanic activity, radioactive contamination, or aggressive wildlife, each island poses unique challenges that have prevented people from making a permanent home there. Despite these harsh conditions, some of these islands still attract scientists, adventurers, and curiosity seekers, fascinated by the mystery of places that have remained largely untouched by human hands. In this documentary, we'll delve into the why and how of these places, highlighting the forces of nature that make them some of the most inhospitable spots on Earth. But these islands aren't just about what makes them uninhabitable. They also hold incredible secrets, hidden stories, and often dangers that have kept them isolated for centuries. Stay with us as we explore these forbidden lands and see if you would dare to visit any of them. From toxic snake islands to islands lost to time, you're about to discover places that make survival nearly impossible. Island 15, North Sentinel Island. Tucked away in the Andaman Islands of the Indian Ocean lies one of the most mysterious and dangerous places on Earth, North Sentinel Island. This island is home to the Sentinelese people, one of the last uncontacted tribes in the world. With no outside contact for thousands of years, the tribe has deliberately resisted any attempts at interaction. Their response to outsiders? Violence. Anyone who dares to step foot on this island risks an attack, with the tribe using bows and arrows to defend their land. The Indian government has forbidden travel to North Sentinel Island, recognizing that not only is it dangerous for outsiders, but the Sentinelese people are also at risk from diseases they have no immunity against. Infecting them with diseases that could devastate their population is a real concern, which is why the government strictly enforces the isolation. The island's wild, tropical environment is filled with dense forests, steep shorelines, and dangerous currents that make approaching by boat a hazardous task. What makes this island truly unique, though, is the fact that it's an island frozen in time. The Sentinelese live a simple traditional lifestyle, relying on hunting and gathering to survive. They have no modern technology and have shown zero interest in engaging with the outside world. This has led to North Sentinel Island being known as the last uncontacted place on Earth. Despite its breathtaking beauty, North Sentinel Island remains one of the most dangerous and uninhabitable islands because of its hostile inhabitants and the harsh geography that makes it nearly impossible to approach. Island 14, Isla de los Muertes, Island of Death. Located in the Falkland Islands off the southern coast of South America, Isla de los Muertes, literally translated as Island of Death, lives up to its ominous name. This small, uninhabited island is notorious for its dark history and harsh environment, making it one of the most unwelcoming places on Earth. The island's foreboding name is rooted in its past, which is filled with fatalities and disasters among early explorers and shipwrecked sailors. One of the key dangers of Isla de los Muertes is its treacherous geography. The island is surrounded by rough waters, sharp rocks, and violent winds, making navigation and survival incredibly difficult. It's said that many ships have been lost, crashing against the island's jagged shores. The extreme weather conditions, including unpredictable storms and freezing temperatures, further add to the island's lethal reputation. Historically, the island served as a grim final resting place for those who didn't survive the perilous conditions. Shipwrecked sailors were often stranded here, and many perished due to the lack of food, shelter, and proper resources. The desolate terrain, with little vegetation and wildlife, made it impossible to live or find refuge for long periods. Today, Isla de los Muertes remains completely uninhabitable. Its extreme isolation, combined with the harsh elements and its tragic past, make it a place that is best avoided. While it holds historic significance for explorers and researchers, it continues to be a cursed and deadly land for anyone who dares to approach. The island's haunting legacy of death and despair makes it a place feared by many who know its story. Island 13, Snake Island, Isla de las Serpientes. Tucked away off the coast of Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean, lies Isla de las Serpientes, better known as Snake Island. This island is notorious for being home to one of the highest concentrations of venomous snakes on the planet, making it one of the most dangerous and uninhabitable places in the world. The island is home to the golden lancehead pit viper, a snake so venomous that its bite can kill within hours if untreated. With an estimated 1 snake per square meter, the island's population of these deadly reptiles outnumbers humans by far, creating a place where survival is nearly impossible. The snakes are not only deadly, but also aggressive. The golden lancehead pit viper's venom causes organ failure and blood clotting, and it's so potent that it's used in medical research. Despite its beauty, Snake Island has earned its grim reputation as a place to stay away from. The island's dense vegetation and hot, humid climate provide the perfect habitat for these venomous creatures, who hunt and thrive in the thick jungles and tall trees. The Brazilian government has banned access to the island for safety reasons, with only a handful of scientists permitted to visit under strict supervision. It's not just the snakes that make the island uninhabitable. Its extreme isolation, combined with the lack of freshwater sources, makes it nearly impossible for humans to live or even attempt survival here. Today, Snake Island remains one of the most dangerous and off-limits locations on Earth, a true testament to the power of nature in keeping humans at bay. For those who venture too close, the deadly wildlife offers no mercy, and the island continues to be a place where only the snakes call home. Island 12, the Isle of the Dead. Tucked away in the Solovetsky Islands off the northern coast of Russia, the Isle of the Dead is a place steeped in both history and mystery. Known for its supernatural reputation and harsh living conditions, this small, eerie island has long been associated with death and isolation. Historically, the island was used as a prison for political dissidents and criminals during the Soviet era, where many suffered and ultimately died from the extreme conditions and lack of resources. The remains of these prisoners are said to haunt the island, adding to its reputation as a place of despair. The island's bleak history is complemented by its inhospitable environment. Surrounded by cold, rough waters and covered with dense, unwelcoming forests, the Isle of the Dead offers little shelter or food sources, making survival nearly impossible. The severe winters and constant storms ensure that only the hardiest or most dangerous creatures can survive here, making it a place where humans are more likely to succumb to the environment than thrive. Over time, stories of the island being cursed have been passed down. Locals and visitors claim to hear strange sounds and experience an eerie atmosphere, with some even claiming to see ghostly figures moving across the land. Its remote and isolated location means that the Isle of the Dead remains a shocking reminder of the harshness of nature and the legacy of human suffering. Today, the island remains off-limits for most, and with its deadly combination of supernatural lore and unforgiving landscape, it remains one of the most uninhabitable islands on Earth, a place where survival and peace are simply out of reach. Island 11, Bergy Islands. Located in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska, the Bergy Islands are among the most dangerous and uninhabitable places in the world due to their constant volcanic activity and unstable terrain. This cluster of volcanic islands is part of the Ring of Fire, a region known for frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The Bergy Islands, in particular, are prone to active eruptions, which makes human habitation near impossible. The volcanic activity isn't just destructive, but also incredibly unpredictable. Volcanoes on these islands can erupt without warning, releasing toxic gases, ash, and lava, creating immediate danger for anyone nearby. The surrounding waters are filled with unstable currents and extreme weather conditions, which add to the challenges of access and survival. Even getting close to the islands for research purposes is risky due to the constantly changing landscape. Aside from the volcanic threats, the Bergy Islands are home to little vegetation and no reliable freshwater sources. The lack of resources and the harsh, freezing climate only add to the island's inhospitable nature. While the islands are occasionally visited by scientists or extreme adventurers, the risk of disaster makes them virtually impossible for long-term habitation. Today, the Berge Islands stand as a testament to the power of nature and the dangers of living in the shadow of a constantly active volcano. With unpredictable eruptions and a landscape that is constantly shifting, it remains a deadly place where survival would require incredible endurance, expertise, and luck. Island 10, Palmyra Atoll. Located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the Palmyra Atoll is a remote and largely uninhabitable chain of islands known for its extreme isolation and harsh conditions. Despite its beautiful beaches and rich marine life, Palmyra Atoll is a place few can endure for long due to its unpredictable weather, lack of resources, and ominous history. The island's history as a military zone adds an eerie layer of danger. During World War II, it was used by the U.S. military as a staging area, and the remnants of abandoned military installations still litter the landscape. These decaying structures, combined with the island's isolation, create a ghostly atmosphere, making Palmyra one of the most unwelcoming places in the world. Today, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service controls the atoll, and only authorized personnel are allowed to visit. The island's harsh climate, including frequent storms and humid conditions, makes long-term survival nearly impossible. The absence of fresh water sources and the challenges of finding food make it a difficult place to sustain life. The Palmyra Atoll also experiences severe storms, making travel to the islands dangerous. The frequent tropical cyclones that batter the area leave the island vulnerable to destructive flooding and erosion, further damaging any efforts at settlement. Today, while Palmyra Atoll is a haven for wildlife conservation and research, it remains one of the most uninhabitable islands on Earth. Its combination of military history, harsh climate, and isolated location makes it a forbidden place, perfectly illustrating the power of nature and man's inability to tame the environment. Island 9, Tristan da Cunha. Located in the South Atlantic Ocean, Tristan da Cunha is often referred to as the most isolated inhabited island on Earth. The island's remote location, about 1,500 miles from the nearest inhabited land, makes it incredibly difficult to access, adding to its uninhabitability. Despite a small population of around 250 people, Tristan da Cunha remains a harsh place to live due to its extreme isolation, volcanic activity, and unpredictable weather. The island is part of a volcanic archipelago, and the active volcano on Tristan da Cunha, known as Queen Mary's Peak, poses a significant threat. While eruptions are rare, the constant volcanic activity and the risk of earthquakes make the island an inherently dangerous place for long-term settlement. The island's inhabitants live with a constant fear that the volcano could erupt, which could lead to catastrophic consequences. The isolation of Tristan da Cunha is another major factor that makes life here challenging. The island is surrounded by rough seas and unpredictable storms, making it incredibly difficult for ships to dock. The island can only be accessed by boat, and weather-dependent shipping schedules make it a challenge to get supplies and maintain contact with the outside world. This geographical isolation creates supply shortages and makes it nearly impossible to evacuate in case of disaster. Despite its natural beauty, Tristan da Cunha remains an incredibly difficult place to live due to the volcanic risks, extreme isolation, and constant weather challenges. The island's unique and rugged beauty contrasts sharply with the harsh conditions, making it a fascinating but uninhabitable place for most people. Island 8, Iriomote Island. Nestled in the Okinawa Prefecture of Japan, Iriomote Island is a lush and remote paradise, but it is far from being a safe haven for human habitation. Known for its dense jungles, rugged terrain, and wild animals, Iriomote Island is inhospitable due to its extreme weather conditions and the dangers of navigating its untamed wilderness. The island's thick forests are home to the Iriomote cat, a rare and elusive species that is native to the island, as well as various wild animals and venomous creatures. While these animals are not directly harmful to humans, the presence of dangerous wildlife and the island's overgrown jungles make it difficult to navigate without expert knowledge. The dense vegetation can quickly become disorienting, and the risk of getting lost or injured is a constant threat to anyone venturing deep into the forest. In addition to its wildlife, Uninhabitable Island is also plagued by extreme weather, particularly the typhoon season. The island is regularly hit by torrential rains and strong winds, which make living on the island extremely difficult and dangerous. These storms can disrupt supplies and make transportation in and out of the island a challenge. The rugged landscape and lack of infrastructure further compound the island's uninhabitable nature, as evacuation during a natural disaster would be nearly impossible. Today, Uninhabitable Island remains largely untouched and uninhabitable due to its harsh environmental conditions, making it a place where only the most adventurous or well-prepared visitors dare to tread. Despite its beauty and unique wildlife, the island's extreme isolation and unpredictable weather make it a difficult and dangerous destination for long-term human settlement. Island 7, Bikini Atoll. Located in the Marshall Islands in the Central Pacific Ocean, Bikini Atoll is one of the most infamous and dangerous islands on Earth. This island's tragic and hazardous legacy stems from its use as a site for nuclear testing during the mid-20th century. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States conducted 23 nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll, which caused significant environmental destruction and left the island contaminated by radioactive fallout. The tests, which included the detonation of hydrogen bombs and other nuclear devices, rendered the island's environment uninhabitable for generations. Despite its lush tropical appearance, Bikini Atoll has been abandoned for decades due to the lingering radiation that continues to affect the surrounding environment. Even today, radioactive materials remain in the soil, water, and vegetation, making the area dangerous to humans and animals alike. Although efforts have been made to clean up parts of the atoll, much of the area remains contaminated and unsafe. Due to the high levels of radiation, the island is still off limits to the general public, and access is strictly regulated by the U.S. government and local authorities. Resettlement has been prohibited, as scientists and experts continue to monitor the island's radioactive levels, which fluctuate with environmental changes. Despite its hazardous environment, Bikini Atoll has become a site for scientific research and tourism, with divers visiting the surrounding waters to explore the sunken remnants of military vehicles and ships from the atomic tests. However, even with its underwater allure, Bikini Atoll remains one of the most radioactive and uninhabitable places on Earth, making it a chilling reminder of the devastating effects of nuclear testing. Island 6, North Brother Island. Tucked away in the East River of New York City, North Brother Island is one of the most eerie and uninhabitable places in the world. Once a quarantine hospital for those suffering from infectious diseases, the island has a history steeped in sickness, suffering, and death. The most infamous figure tied to the island is Typhoid Mary, an asymptomatic carrier of typhoid fever who was forcibly quarantined there for years after infecting dozens of people. Her haunting legacy makes the island feel like a ghostly remnant of a darker time. North Brother Island was used as a quarantine hospital for infectious diseases like smallpox, tuberculosis, and yellow fever in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Over time, it became the site of a pest house where people afflicted with deadly diseases were isolated in the hopes of preventing their spread. The island's bleak history is compounded by the decaying remnants of old hospital buildings and structures, left abandoned for decades. Vines and trees have overtaken the structures, creating a hauntingly beautiful yet decayed landscape that further adds to the island's eerie reputation. While the island is located just off the coast of New York City, it has been completely off-limits to the public since the early 1960s. Its history, combined with its disease-ridden past, and the fact that the buildings are in a state of advanced decay, makes it incredibly dangerous for anyone attempting to visit. Today, North Brother Island is a reminder of the time when disease and isolation went hand in hand, and it remains one of the most inhospitable islands in the world, a place where few dare to tread. Island 5, Ilha de Queimada Grande. Situated off the coast of Brazil, Ilha de Queimada Grande, also known as Snake Island, is one of the most dangerous islands on Earth, renowned for its highly venomous snakes. Home to the golden lancehead pit viper, a snake whose bite can kill within hours, This island has earned its reputation as a place no one should attempt to visit. With an estimated 1 snake per square meter, the island's dense vegetation is teeming with venomous creatures that make survival nearly impossible. The golden lancehead is one of the most deadly snakes in the world, and its venom is so potent that it can cause organ failure and internal bleeding, leading to death without immediate medical treatment. What makes the island so hazardous is not just the presence of these snakes, but the sheer number of them, making it an island where humans are the prey, and not the other way around. In addition to the venomous snakes, the island's harsh climate, dense forests, and lack of fresh water make it impossible to survive on Ilha de Queimada Grande for any length of time. Even the Brazilian government has banned all civilian access to the island, allowing only a few scientists and researchers to visit under strict supervision. The government's goal is to prevent human casualties and to protect the delicate balance of the island's ecosystem. Today, Ilha de Queimada Grande remains a forbidden place, a deadly paradise that is home to some of the world's most dangerous creatures. With its shocking snake population, uninhabitable environment, and government-enforced isolation, it is a stark reminder of the power nature has to keep humans at bay. Island 4, the Isle of Skellig Michael. Nestled off the southwest coast of Ireland, the Isle of Skellig Michael is a strikingly beautiful yet inhospitable island. Known for its medieval monastery perched precariously atop its steep cliffs, this UNESCO World Heritage Site is as dangerous as it is awe-inspiring. The island's extreme isolation, treacherous terrain, and unpredictable weather make it an incredibly difficult place to survive or even visit. Skellig Michael's steep cliffs, which rise more than 600 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, are the first challenge anyone would face when approaching. The rocky, narrow pathways that lead to the monastery are treacherous and often wet, making them incredibly slippery and unstable. Only those in top physical condition can even attempt to scale the cliffs, and the constant risk of falling makes the island a deadly place for the unprepared. The weather conditions on Skellig Michael only add to the danger. The island is subject to fierce winds, thick fog, and stormy seas, making access to the island difficult, if not impossible at times. The isolated location in the Atlantic means that help is far away, and rescue missions, in the event of an emergency, would be time-consuming and hazardous. Historically, the island's harsh climate made it an ideal retreat for monks seeking solitude, but it also meant that survival here was never easy. Today, while the island is open to tourists, access is strictly limited. Only a few boats are permitted to dock each day, and strict regulations are in place to preserve the island's fragile ecosystem. Skellig Michael's combination of dangerous terrain, harsh weather, and remote isolation makes it one of the most inhospitable yet remarkably stunning places on Earth. Island 3, Devil's Island. Nestled off the coast of French Guiana, Devil's Island is infamous for its brutal penal colony history and dangerous environment, making it one of the most uninhabitable islands in the world. From the mid-19th century until 1953, this island was home to one of France's most notorious prison systems, where political prisoners, criminals, and undesirables were sent to endure harsh conditions. The island's reputation as a place of suffering and death is steeped in its brutal history. The prisoners on Devil's Island were subjected to inhumane treatment, forced to endure grueling labor, malnutrition, and disease. Many died from the harsh tropical climate, the island's lack of shelter, and the ever-present threat of poisonous wildlife. Snakes, venomous insects, and jungle diseases made survival nearly impossible. For those sent to Devil's Island, it was often a death sentence, with little hope of escape. In addition to its grim history, the island's treacherous terrain and isolated location make it a truly inhospitable place. The dense jungles, steep cliffs, and lack of clean water made life on the island near impossible, while the surrounding waters are infested with sharks and unpredictable tides. The remoteness and dangers surrounding the island make it nearly impossible to reach or survive on without expert preparation. Today, Devil's Island stands as a symbol of cruelty and desolation, its haunting legacy still lingering in the decaying ruins of the old prison. Despite being a site for tourists today, the island's harsh history and dangerous environment ensure that it remains one of the most dangerous and uninhabitable islands in the world. Island 2, Clipperton Island. Located in the eastern Pacific Ocean, Clipperton Island is one of the most remote and uninhabitable places on Earth. With no permanent human settlement, this small, coral island is infamous for its extreme isolation, harsh environmental conditions, and the complete absence of freshwater sources. Its isolation makes it nearly impossible to survive on for any length of time, as it is over 1,000 kilometers from the nearest land. The island's dry, barren landscape offers little in the way of resources. While the surrounding ocean provides marine life, the lack of fresh water is a significant challenge. There is no natural supply of drinkable water, and surviving here without bringing in outside resources would be impossible. Clipperton Island has no rivers or streams, and the only freshwater sources are small, stagnant pools that often become contaminated by the salty seawater. The island's extreme isolation and harsh weather conditions add to its inhospitable nature. The island is constantly exposed to strong winds and tropical storms, making it difficult to approach by sea. The surrounding waters are filled with sharks and treacherous currents, adding further danger for anyone attempting to reach the island. Despite its beautiful coral reefs and picturesque appearance, the island is a forbidding and dangerous place for human life. Today, Clipperton Island remains largely uninhabited and off-limits to most travelers. While scientists and researchers occasionally visit for brief periods, the island's remote location, combined with the lack of fresh water and the constant threat of harsh weather, makes it one of the most unwelcoming and uninhabitable places in the world. It serves as a stark reminder of the power of nature's extremes and the difficulty of surviving in such a hostile environment. Island 1, Bouvet Island. Bouvet Island is one of the most isolated and inhabitable islands on Earth, located in the South Atlantic Ocean, far from any landmass. This uninhabited island, which is covered almost entirely in ice, sits about 1,600 kilometers from the nearest land, making it one of the most remote places on the planet. Its harsh, ice-capped terrain and freezing temperatures make it an incredibly difficult place to live, and survival here would be nearly impossible without advanced preparation and technology. Bouvet Island is surrounded by unpredictable waters, including strong currents and treacherous ice flows. These factors make it incredibly difficult to approach, let alone settle on. The island's rocky cliffs, covered in glaciers, provide no shelter from the harsh winds and storms that frequently batter the island. With no freshwater sources and no natural resources, surviving on Bouvet Island would require bringing all necessary provisions, and even then, the island's extreme isolation makes it nearly impossible to rely on any outside help. The permanent ice cover and extreme cold, with temperatures often dipping below freezing, prevent the growth of any plant life or the establishment of any meaningful human habitation. Even though the island is surrounded by rich marine life and is home to a few seals and birds, the island's conditions are so extreme that no permanent settlements have ever been established. Today, Bouvet Island remains one of the most uninhabitable places on Earth, a stark reminder of nature's power and the limits of human survival. Its isolation and inhospitable environment ensure that this icy desert remains one of the most dangerous and unwelcoming islands in the world. As we've explored the 15 most uninhabitable islands on Earth, it becomes clear that the forces of nature are both beautiful and terrifying in their power to shape environments where survival is near impossible. From the volcanic eruptions of Tristan da Cunha to the deadly snakes of Snake Island, each of these islands tells a story of harsh conditions that have made them off-limits for human habitation. The extreme isolation of places like Bouvet Island and Clipperton Island highlights just how difficult it is for humans to survive in places that lack basic resources such as freshwater, shelter, or food sources. These islands are geographically remote, with some situated thousands of kilometers away from any form of civilization. The harsh weather and dangerous terrain make reaching these islands a risky endeavor, let alone trying to live on them for an extended period. But the challenges aren't just environmental. Some islands, like North Sentinel Island, are hostile to outsiders, populated by indigenous tribes that have had no contact with the outside world for centuries. Their resistance to any external influence has kept the island forbidden and human life impossible. Similarly, Islands like Devil's Island are marred by tragic history, where human suffering and isolation became synonymous with the land itself. Despite their dangers, these islands have captured the imagination of explorers, scientists, and adventurers. They represent the raw power of nature and the limits of human endurance. Yet, they also stand as reminders of how fragile human life can be when faced with the elements and the forces of nature that we cannot control. Now that you've learned about these uninhabitable islands, consider this. What makes a place truly uninhabitable? Is it the lack of resources, the dangerous wildlife, or simply the extreme isolation? Could you survive on one of these islands? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this exploration fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with friends who love discovering the world's most dangerous and mysterious places. Join us in uncovering more hidden gems and extreme landscapes in our future documentaries. The world is filled with places that are as captivating as they are unwelcoming, and we'll continue to explore them together.